Marion County is taking East Texans back in time, bringing life to the age of muskets and soldiers.
A Civil War reenactment is only one of the historical events provided at the 78th annual Jefferson Pilgrimage. KLTV's Andrew Culver shows you more from the streets of downtown Jefferson.
The city of Jefferson's history dates back to the 19th century, and community members work to keep the past alive.
I think it's really important to preserve that so that we can remember those that came before us and really pull together as a community.
The city will reenact the Battle of Jefferson as they do annually. While no battle actually exists, Jefferson did hold a Confederate base during the Civil War. The fictional Battle of Jefferson asked, what if the Union attacked the base?
We give orders to the people that their town has now been taken over and you're now under the United States flag.
We celebrate that and are proud of the fact that Jefferson did play such a large piece in that. And so the reenactment just helps us to keep a piece of that history going.
Around 300 reenactors participate. Gary Stevens has been participating in Civil War reenactments for 38 years. For nearly 20 years, he drives from his home in Jonesboro, Louisiana, to Jefferson to fight in the Battle of Jefferson.
I love it. I love it. My grandmother put the love of history in my heart. That just intrigued me, and I'm still hooked today.
While the battle is fought, Jefferson also offers stage performances, a ballroom meal, and a Civil War themed parade in downtown Jefferson.
I think it's important to preserve history wherever you're from, but Jefferson has a very unique history. The entire community pulls together, and that's one of the most amazing things about it.
Andrew Culver, KLTV 7 News.
The event officially begins this evening. It continues through Sunday. The Battle of Jefferson starts at 4 on Saturday at the Cypress River Ranch. Sports is next.